In the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip after a pretty embarrassing shellacking by the St. Louis Blues tonight. A 7-2 hockey game, and I'm going to go against what I've been doing here. You know, it's a late night, it's Thursday night. We just sat through that, and you hardcores are still up in the chat. I'm inviting you to pour yourself a drink with me here tonight. I know I need one after that game, a little whiskey Coke. As we have a little therapy session, we get through this one, we get it out of our system, and then we watch this team bounce back on Sunday. But a lot of bad to talk about on this night, and I don't want to do it alone. The chat's already buzzing. I'm looking to get to those thoughts early on. But Mikey, how you doing tonight, buddy?
No Squirtle, no Hey Baby, no CSI, no nothing tonight. This is to let Turd Ferguson know, yes, this is where you come to lodge formal complaints. We are the Landing Strip. We are here to take all of your complaints tonight, bring them all out. It's oh boy, that was a tough one to sit through, and the fact that we're all here and ready to complain about it, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for that part.
Let's go to the big takeaways first. Gilbert goes to one of mine right off the bat here tonight, so I do want to dive over to his comment, but I want to send it your way, Mikey. Big thoughts leaving this one here tonight.
So I'm doing my best to not put a lot of stock into this game specifically. We've seen a few instances this year with the Jets where they've just put up a bad effort for whatever reason, right? Whether it's too many Mormon wives in Utah, or having to go into that just den in LA. There's been games where the Jets just haven't looked great, but they've always been able to bounce back. So I'm trying to keep that top of mind throughout the rest of the show, that I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt in this one. My big kind of takeaway from the game itself, though, is just how fragile the lineup is when it comes to injuries. You start losing, right now the Jets are missing three big pieces in this game, right? Still no Gabe Vilardi, still no Nick Ehlers, and now no Dylan DeMello. It's a house of cards. You start losing these pieces, and they can flash for a few games and look great, but eventually it's going to start weighing on you, and they need these guys coming back in soon. That's kind of where I left this game. How about you?
Yeah, my first big thoughts were Jordan and I were kind of talking back and forth on the end of last show, just saying, hey, like, this thing's far from over, and St. Louis is going to throw the kitchen sink game 3. And they certainly did. And one thing I was doing this afternoon, I was listening to some of the convos out of St. Louis to see where they were at, like where the media was there, what was coming out of that room. And I got to say, as a Pavel Buchnevich enjoyer, it's not that fun to be on this side of it. And a lot of the conversation in St. Louis was coming from Buchnevich himself, but a lot of the media scene was how they needed more from him, and talk about message received. And one thing he was talking about feeling like he wasn't able to unlock himself offensively was he felt the Jets were doing a pretty damn good of bunching up the Blues, and the Blues were sending 3 guys to one side, 3 guys in the corner. And we kind of talked about it, how that helped the Blues establish some pressure, but the Jets were able to get past it and kind of get to their game. Buchnevich certainly answered the bell in a big way in that first period. I think it was 3 shots, 2 goals, 3 hits in like the first 10 minutes of the game. Gets the hat trick on the heli bobble. We're going to be talking a lot about the Jets and negativity, but when I looked at the Jets, and you're right, they're missing Gabe Vilardi, they're missing Nick Ehlers, they're missing Dylan DeMello. And when I hear you talk about that, I think it'll be easy to sit on that as an excuse, and it's 3 key pieces missing. But when I hear that, I think back to the trade deadline.
Yep.
And how this was kind of a warning that, hey, this team is really good, but you start missing one piece on the blue line, you're in trouble. You're missing any team missing 2 top 6 wingers is going to be in trouble. But the Jets clearly are missing that offensive boost that we're talking about. So that's where my mind goes there. But for, past just how the trade deadline was handled and getting leveraged in that week, Gilbert went to the place I wanted to go here, because we got late news that Dylan DeMello wasn't going to be a part of this game.
Yep.
And I did not like going in where Arniel and the staff went with the D pairing. So I'll go to Gilbert Marion's comment to start off this show. Musical chairs trying to find a partner for Morrissey. Pionk was the worst idea. He can only play with Sandberg. Totally dominated first. Hate. Cancel the parade. Puke is my feeling. And Gilbert nails all of that. Like, we've talked about this so many times. Neil Pionk, Mr. $7 million, and holy, anyone that thinks he's worth $7 million, I'm just going to replay that first period on a frickin' loop where the first goal, it's a turnover on his end. Second goal was a comedy of errors from everybody. Pionk steps up in the neutral zone. Kyle Connor's the last man back and just decides to gaze into the abyss. Follow a step late on Cam Fowler. And if Connor Hellebuck's the best goalie in the world, that's the one save in the first I think he's got to make. Both those Buchnevich goals were pretty I'm having a hard time blaming him on either of those, but in a 2-0 game, that's the save I want to see Hellebuck make, and the rest of the game spun out on him. But we've talked at length that Neil Pionk can only play with Dylan Sandberg. So then you go and hamstring Josh Morrissey, who just last show we were talking about, he showed some good things, but we still haven't seen him rise to the level we expect out of Josh Morrissey. You give him the chaos agent, and it was just a mess right from the beginning. Sandberg, Shen, a mess. Miller, Stanley, a mess. Colin Miller, actually, shut up. We want to start on a positive. Colin Miller was my one positive today, and if he comes out of the lineup, we're watching completely different games than the coaching staff. We'll get to that down the line. I know. But to completely change up the entire decor when you know how fragile that group is with its mix I thought the coaching staff overthinking this right from minute 1. It got changed at the 10-minute mark, then they went back to it. Got changed at the 5-minute mark into the second, then they went back to it. It was just like one of those adjustments that goes completely against giving the coaching staff credit. And then, hey, just some of the mistakes we were seeing out there, it was not fun. It was not fun.
No. So coming into the playoffs, one of the things I said I was looking for was going to be how Scott Arniel and Jim Montgomery kind of match up in the coaching battle, especially once we got to St. Louis. I said that was going to be a really good look into kind of how this is going to go, because these little battles matter, right? These matchups battles, they matter. The lineup matters, especially in these games where you're playing the same team potentially 7 times, over the course of a couple weeks. And it's not a great look in the first opportunity that Arniel has to kind of really show a better grasp of what to do when the lineup isn't ideal. We know what he wants to do when he's got everybody healthy. We've seen that from game 1 all the way through. We can all write that in our sleep. The thing is that once things aren't at that pristine spot, doesn't seem to have a good enough grasp on what to do with it. We either get these real strange matchups like Morrissey-Pionk, which I don't understand what you've seen this year at any point to lead you to that as a pairing. Colin Miller is absolutely going to be the first one coming out. There's no question about it. Doesn't matter how good of a game he'll have in a dog shit game overall. It just we are watching a very different set of evaluation when it comes to NHLD than what the organization has. We've seen it when they tried to identify NHL defensemen to target, have either free agency or trade. They don't have a great track record on it. Some of the contracts that have been offered up haven't been all that great on the defensive side of things. They have a very different set of qualifications that they're looking for on D than what I think a lot of us are. Because I don't know how you watch anything from this season and come to the conclusion that Neil Pionk should be the one up with Josh Morrissey and pull him away from Dylan Sandberg. There's no there's no data to support it. There's no eye test to support it. I don't get it, but it's very consistent with what the organization has been doing for the better part of the last 10 years.
Yeah, definitely a mistake from minute one of this game. In a game that featured a comedy of mistakes all around.
Absolutely.
I imagine we're going to be talking about every single player tonight in some kind of fashion outside Colin Miller, who impressed me through that big hit in the middle of the ice.
Yeah.
Had some great underlyings in this one with the shot attempts in a game where St. Louis absolutely dominated.
Yep.
Drew that penalty. I like a lot of what Colin Miller brought to the table. I know one of our big concerns was trying to hide that third pair of Shen and Stanley on the road. I see B. Kelly's, who was at the game in St. Louis, said Luke Shen had a very bad game, rough one to be at, and Luke Shen's lack of foot speed has really, really started to show as in this series, most of this series. Clearly there's some value on the PK, but at 5-on-5, the foot speed just doesn't work, and it's leading him to take some penalties, some of which today, one of which I didn't think was a call, though we got the makeup call right after. Don't want to touch too much on it. The reffing has been pretty baffling in this series. But this isn't a game where the reffing makes a difference. St. Louis was just flat out better. St. Louis was hard on the forecheck. St. Louis was great at cutting off plays. The Winnipeg Jets were disjointed. And St. Louis's power play, we've been talking about the PK, needs to figure something out here. 3 power play goals today puts this one out of reach. St. Louis, credit to them. They made some adjustments. They went 12-6, and instead of the 11-7, they brought in what's his name? He used to be on the Columbus Blue Jackets, Texier, who I thought was a standout in this one as they looked for more offense. They took Ryan Suter out, who I thought has been and we've seen this for multiple years now. There's a reason he's getting paid by 3 Central teams. He kind of falls off at this time of year.
Yeah.
But just a lot's gone wrong, and I'll start diving into Twitch. I'll dive into YouTube. This is going to be a therapy session. Get what you need off your chest. But I will say, and I'm going to hammer this home multiple times throughout the night, after today's therapy session, getting through it and getting this out of our system, it's time to nut up, folks. This is the NHL playoffs. You couldn't think that the St. Louis Blues we're just going to roll over and die.
Yep.
And you can't expect that the Winnipeg Jets are just going to roll over and die.
Yep.
They've answered the bell pretty religiously, pretty consistently this year. And I'm expecting them to do the same Sunday. If Dylan DeMello's sick, I would expect him back. And missing him was very clear, especially on that kill. I thought he was coming off one of his best games in the last little while in Game 2. So that was a real unfortunate blow. But let's start diving into the chat. Choices TK starts us off with ugly and a masterclass in why you don't re-sign Pionk. Just a chaos agent. No wonder he wanted a contract signed before the playoffs. And the clock strikes 12 and he turns into a pumpkin. Just lost all composure and looked like a team that was satisfied with 2 wins, that was going to take the win if it was given to them, but not going to go out and take it. And hard to disagree there. Everyone knows where I stand on the Pionk contract. It's done. I can't change it. But there was very real concerns not to get that done before the playoffs, and today was a game that makes Some of us look smarter than others, in my opinion. But Big Papa goes to a spot that we definitely need to talk about. Helly keeps talking about wanting to win a cup. Can we see him be normal in the playoffs? He's hiding in his net and playing the puck so bad. And I will say, I go to bat for Connor Hellebuyck as often as anybody. I write the propaganda and try and build that guy's name up as much as anybody. But so far in this series, he's not doing himself any favors in the playoff narrative, especially today. Like I said, Buchnevich's first goal, he kicks it and bats it out of the air. That's nasty. Then the second one, the angle tip, I can't put that on him.
No.
Third one, a goalie's got to make a save at some point, and Cam Fowler, who's actually impressed me in this series. Actually, Cam Fowler, I was disrespecting a little bit coming into the series. He's actually impressed me. And the one thing I noticed, we're about to get into Cam Fowler's goal, and I know Mike Friesen over on Twitch, we were kind of talking about this as it happened. Cam Fowler jumping into that play as soon as he saw St. Louis grab possession at the neutral zone. The St. Louis Blues, I think, activated their D more to try and create more offense, and you saw it on that play where he gets a wide open lane. And like I said, there was breakdowns all over that play. Yeah. Pionk getting stuck between two guys. Kyle Connor being the last man back and just being in La La Land. And then Iafallo being a step short on Fowler. But if Connor Hellebuyck's the guy that I keep claiming he is, that's probably one you want back. And then right after the Jets get on the board from a great hustle play from Jared Anderson-Dolan, great drive, draws both D over thinking he was the dangerous threat, and finds Gustafsson, who gets one in. And we've been talking like, hey, Gus is going to chip in here at some point.
Yep.
For Connor Hellebuyck to go behind the net and make that play right after the Jets make it a 2-goal game is just inexcusable. If you're a goaltender, tend the fucking goal. And at that point, it's over. Like, you get shot like that. This is a guy I want to put up in the legacy of the sport, and he's done it so consistently. It's time for him to show up and show it where in these games that matter the most.
Yeah, and it hasn't been just the playoffs. We've seen this quite a bit in the second half of the season where he's going to play the puck and it just absolutely makes a dog's breakfast out of it. He's so good at so many things, one of the best of all time, already the greatest American goalie ever, but dear Lord, don't play the puck. Just stay away from it. That shit that is a grenade to you, my guy. That is going to blow up. Don't touch it. It's fine. You've got mobile enough D that should get back there to help you out. And if you are going to go and do it, make your decision before you get to the fucking puck and just commit and do what you're going. You can't stop with it and play with it. You just can't. Yeah, it's frustrating. He's so good at so many things, and he wants to play. That's the other thing too. He wants to play the puck in that situation. The system doesn't demand that he's the one there to make the call with the puck. It's just, so yeah, they've got to either clean that up, or he's got to just kind of realize that that's not his forte. And like you said, that third one is where you want the save out of the goalie that's been the best goalie front to back all season long. So. Yeah, it didn't do a lot for his reputation tonight on that one. So, but like you said, they've rebounded hard each time out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see just a really clean, tidy, big, boring game from him on Sunday.
Yeah, and I'm expecting it, man. I'm not. The sky is not falling from me, and I'm gonna go to Mike F here as we continue to bounce around. I'll let B. Kellis know and Hulk, who are looking to call. We're gonna open up those phone lines in the next 5 to 10 minutes when we do the From Financial Face-Off. Then I'm gonna bounce over to YouTube after these two comments from Mike on Twitch, as I see YouTube's been quite active, and there's some good stuff over there. We're gonna be bouncing around here. I want to get your thoughts out. I want to get my thoughts out. I want to get the chat's thoughts out. But Mike Friesen, I'm going to go to Mike Friesen here to bring in some levity, because I'm seeing it a lot of the same ways Mike is right now. Mike says, Montgomery had 2 days off to adjust and respond. Now Arneal has the same chance. The sky isn't falling. The Winnipeg Jets are up 2-1 in this series, by the way.
Yep.
You're not in trouble till you lose at home. St. Louis, I got to say, I'm 3-0 and picking the money line winners in this series. St. Louis was going to grab one of these two games. They might even grab both. And guess what? The Jets are still in the driver's seat going back home in a best of 3. Mike says, walk away from the ledge. PK is the most worrying part. And the PK is the most worrying part, especially with how this series is getting called. And St. Louis is getting a majority of their offense from the PP. They finally get on the board quite a bit at 5-on-5 tonight as well, of course. But throughout the 3 games, the PP has really kept them around in this game. And the Jets PK needs to find some answers. But I'm with Mike here, but I'll share some of the other perspectives as well. Choices TK says, are Neil really pissy after this one in the post-game availability? Curious to see how they respond. And you want to see that after a game like that? I want to hear it from the coach after a game like that. So I do think that is good reaction. You don't want to pretend that this didn't happen. This happened. Now it's time to fucking respond. Glizzy Water Soup pushes back, saying a lot of this is copium, saying when was the last time this team answered the bell in the playoffs? 7 years ago, LMAO. And hey, they do have that history. That recent history is a big reason a lot of the narratives are around the Winnipeg Jets, because that's who they've been. But through 82 games and now 3 playoff games, this team has consistently shown in this individual year, the mentality has been different. They've responded to downs really well. I don't think it's fair to hold the entire last 7 years and pretend that's going to happen. Hey, we saw this team lose 6-2 in 17-18 in Game 3 against Minnesota. Whether it's 7-2 tonight or 3-2 tonight, it's all the fucking same. It's all the same. It's a 2-1 series. St. Louis just got on the board.
Yep.
There's no aggregate like soccer.
Nope. They only count for one.
This is a kick in the ass moment for the Winnipeg Jets, and we're gonna learn a lot about this core and how different they are on Sunday. I'm not ready to write them off, and they've handled these pretty well this year. I'm not ready to jump off the cliff personally.
Yeah, when it comes to looking at like long term versus short term like that, long term is how you judge your GM, your ownership, that type of group. That's where you kind of point the finger at for 7 years of maybe not where you want to be in the playoffs. We can only judge this particular team, these particular group of players, and this coaching staff on this season because that's what we've seen play up to this point. And like you said, they have responded well this year. So I'm hoping that's what happens again, right? We can only look at the past performance to, try to dictate what that next one's going to be. The issues that I specifically, can still see and point at, which the chat has as well, right, is one is the PK. That needs to get back to a spot where they were a lot more aggressive and looking a lot better. And if Scott Arniel is going to make those adjustments, he's got 2 days, like Mike says. Let's see what he does with them, right? If he comes out with the exact same lineup and the exact same system as today, different story. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that part. But yeah, specifically, those are still things that I am worried about. But overall, this group has shown us that they like coming back from these slaps in the face. So I'm expecting a big one on Sunday, and I think they're going to win that one, to be honest.
Hey, if you picked them in 5 like you did,
yep,
there was always going to be one loss in here.
Yep.
I originally said 6, and I could see 5. I could see them winning the next 2 with how the first 2 games in the series went. Yep. St. Louis was always going to throw a punch, and they threw a fucking big one tonight. And it's time for this team to answer a lot of that history. And Mike points out, no one knows this team's history more than the players themselves.
Yep.
And they've shown that mentality all year. I think they're getting off the mat. I think they will. Going over to YouTube, where I want to join a couple points here from Turd Ferguson and Gilbert Marion. And then Yacker as well. This all ties together, so give me a second here. Starts with Turd saying, anyone's out there still think DeMello has no value to the Jets? And yeah, we just saw how valuable Dylan DeMello is, both for Josh Morrissey's game, who another guy who's a big part of this core that we need to see more of from this playoff series, a guy that I've talked up as the best skater of the Winnipeg Jets. We need to see Mo find that ceiling, because he could be a difference maker on offense when this team needs offense. And this team badly needs offense. One thing when we're looking at lineup changes, something's got to give in the middle 6 where they're just getting no offense from. Yep. It was funny. I posted a clip from last show on TikTok about the Jets' depth. Offense is going to have to show up at some point here because you can't ask the top line to do it the whole series. And there was some people not too happy about that. And then you see why in a game like today, why I'm warning about that into the future. Like, this is still a long battle. Buckle in. This is going to be a quality hockey series. It's been big boy hockey through 3 games.
Yep.
There's still potentially 4 more.
Yeah. And again, they've got a 2-1 lead right now without a third of their top 6 and their number one their number one pairing right-handed defenseman. Right, so they lost DeMello in this one. They didn't have Ehlers and Velarde for the first 3 now in a row, and they're still up 2-1 in the series. Definitely the sky's not falling. Just a little worried about those specific areas to see how the adjustments come and how they're going to fix that penalty kill. And just the other thing too is the Jets are deep in the bottom half of the lineup. Absolutely, they've got third and fourth liners coming out the wazoo. But they still aren't deep when it comes to skill and when it comes to their top 4 defense, right? They still don't have the ability to lose one of those guys and have somebody that the coaching staff trusts. I don't know what Colin Miller has done to continually piss off the coaching staff, but it'll be interesting to see what adjustments get made. That's really where I'm going to be zoned in.
Yes. So Brad Yakachuk, Nik Yacker from Twitter here, longtime fan, first-time caller. What do you think the odds are we send out the same D-Corps next game? And if they do, can you 5-1-5-0 me, please? And I'll be sure to get on the horn to 5-1-5-0 you. But I imagine there's going to be some movement in the lineup, both in the middle 6 and on D. I'm with Gilbert Marion, who says Shen was the worst of the bunch. Miller for him would be a fine in my book. I don't think they'll do it, but I actually wouldn't even mind seeing Miller and Fleury into that game as a third pair if DeMello's back and taking both those guys out. I know you want the big boy hockey in this series, but man, it's just you can't hide that pair in St. Louis. And there's just so much of a bottom to them without very much ceiling.
Yep.
That get at least one of them out of there, but if you can do both, I don't know how you don't play Colin Miller after tonight. And we know that they've always gone back to plan A, but in such a shit show of a game, for him to be the standout coming into the lineup for the first time on a whim because DeMello was sick, I thought he was their best defenseman on this night.
Yep.
I don't expect him to be their best defenseman moving forward, and he can't be for this team to win this series. But you cannot pull him out from this, and Luke Shen and or Logan Stanley has to take a seat in St. Louis to protect the downside that this team has.
Can I throw so much cold water on it and not even about the lineup part?
Oh, boy.
Without looking, and maybe you've already looked, but overall in minutes, where do you think Colin Miller fell on the chart today?
Probably at the bottom.
Second from the bottom. Only played a little bit more than Stanley. Who do you think played the most minutes tonight?
Luke Shen. No, Pionk.
Neil Pionk.
Yeah,
so you had
a problem in
the
itself.
pure chaos agent, right, playing the most minutes overall, and you had the guy who, by the eye test, by all the analytics, who had the best night, Colin Miller, played just barely over Logan Stanley, who got sent to the dressing room early. It's I don't know, Colin. There's a personal thing. There's a vendetta against that guy. They don't want him playing even when he's playing well. It's I don't know.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Where do I want to go from here? Gilbert Marion says, I think Kyle Connor deserves some criticism. He was there 2 to 3 times and didn't make the check. And yeah, after 2 really big games, I thought that top line struggled. And it's no secret. I think Jordan was on this last year when he said, it's kind of funny. Kyle Connor's being that big time scorer, he's finding the open ice. He scored 2 game-winning goals. Can't take that away from him. Yep. But I don't think he has been as engaged everywhere else on the ice as we've seen a lot of this series. And I think Gilbert's totally right to point that out. I've said it twice now, but that goal where he's the last man back and there's just no effort to be a part of that play. His two-way engagement, especially right now, like I think it's unfair to put it all on him. There was just so many passengers. Yep. But it's so much more important right now to get the best version of him that we've seen most of this year because of the Ehlers and Velarde aspect. Yeah. At the same point, we can't ask that top line to be the only producers of offense. Now, you get a fourth line goal today, but they really need to find something in the middle six that's going to work. And the all defense line of Tanev, Lowry, and Appleton just provides nothing offensively. That you got to find a tweak in there in that middle six to find something.
Their defense is so good it destroys their own offense. Man, that's powerful defense. Can I offer a little bit of copium / excuse? If DeMello was sick, right, that's what he was kept him out tonight. There was some type of bug going around. I wonder as well how many of the other guys tonight were also feeling like a big bag of shit, who still played, and kind of maybe why a lot of guys looked like a passenger, looked slow, looked kind of sluggish. Do you think there's anything? I don't even want to.
I don't even want to give them that.
No?
They don't deserve that.
They don't deserve that. All right, I'm in. All right.
They don't deserve that. No, we're not doing that.
All right, I'm in.
Even Big Papa, who's a big KC guy, and I know he gets on me when I get too much on KC. I'm the biggest KC guy. He's too soft on the boards and defensively. Yeah. And there was just a lot of that. Who else needs to show up in this series? The captain.
Yeah.
Big boy hockey going on out there. We need more from Adam Lowry. And that was one thing I didn't mind seeing, was seeing him and Vlad get switched for the third period. Maybe that's the spark going into next game, where Lowry starts with Perfetti and Nino, and you see what you can kind of do there. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
I'd like it. Yep. I mean, and to be fair, Perfetti scored a goal tonight. The only person who didn't realize it is the fucking idiot in Toronto. But Perfetti scored a goal, so there was some production in the middle.
Let's talk about that goal, and then let's get into the From Financial Faceoff and open up those phone lines.
Yep.
So with the Perfetti thing, I thought that's in.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate that there's not better technology, and unfortunately, I think it's the overhead cam that fucks that from being called. Because if you're just using logic of the different replays and putting together the full picture, that's a goal.
That's a goal.
That's a goal.
No
question.
question.
I get why it comes back, because of the inconclusive, the call on the ice, and that overhead cam with the glove in the way causes issues. But I think that it was clearly a goal.
Yeah.
Cole Perfetti, I thought he was pretty engaged in this one still. Yep. Got ran over early in that first, but I thought he was battling well. Should have had on the board. And that goal, or the goal, comes off that switch they made on the PP at practice.
Yes.
Where Kyle Connor's now on his strong hand flank, and he walks in and finds Cole Perfetti in that one-timer spot. A little tweak I don't mind. I prefer Cole Perfetti as the PP puck handler on that side compared to Kyle Connor. Now, that was probably their only good look on the PP tonight, but it was a look that produced a puck that across the line, and it just didn't count on the board. Now, I don't think it makes a big difference in the grand scope of things. You hope that the momentum would turn, but it's hard to just say that goal was the difference in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you get that goal put up the right way, and then Hellebuck doesn't go behind the net and forget what sport he's playing, it's a 2-goal shift there, and maybe there's a different outcome in this game. But it's just, frustrating that he doesn't get his first goal, because he did everything right and he earned that goal.
I'm going to tie a few comments here together, then let's go to the From Financial Faceoff, get those phone lines open, as a couple guys wanted to call in. HH Living Local sums it up. Sometimes you're just shit, and that's what happened tonight. And the Winnipeg Jets shit would probably be an understatement, unfortunately, on this night.
Fair.
But hey, it's still a series. Justin L99 says, would have been nice if Chevy got some offensive firepower at the trade deadline to prevent a potential middle six cold spell. All well, and that's something we talked a lot about at the deadline. We had some people already trying to say, hey, time to dig back those takes. I haven't been ready to do that until we see what the next round looks like.
Yep.
You're seeing some of that play into this game, in my opinion. And Turd Ferguson sums it up, says, and Jeff Cabeles follows it up from him. Turd says, Jets put a lot of faith in Vlad. He has been a non-factor, not expecting much, but he needs to get more involved somehow. And Cabeles says, I might be giving up my presidency for the Vlad Domestic Law fan club. Again, these were all things that we were concerned about potentially creeping in at this time of year, and you're seeing it. Now we're waiting for the response. It's not over.
Nope.
But some of those combos we talked about, you see why that matters at this time of year and why I'm so passionate about those combos earlier in the year. And it is interesting because Darren Dreger confirmed my theory from the deadline last week, actually. He did that Barn Burner podcast in Calgary. And my theory was that the Jets got leveraged on Brock Nelson and didn't have a plan B.
Yep.
And Drager seemed to elude that this past week. So maybe when I get fired up, maybe I'm not so far off after all.
Right? We were not that crazy.
But let's go to the From Financial Face-Off on this shit show of a night, shall we? And we'll open up those phone lines. If you want to call in, get something off your chest, go through a little therapy session, tonight's the night. All right. The From Financial Face-Off. We want to hear from you in the chat. We're going to open up those phone lines if you want to call in and talk about some stuff tonight. This is what we're here for on a night like tonight. With the From Financial Face-Off, what was the difference in this game? What caused things to go awry? What went well? Mikey, I'll lead it over to you first on this night.
So it's something that we've actually touched on just quite a bit here in the last little bit of the show. It's the fact that the Jets, while they are deep, they're not deep where it matters, right? They've got fourth and third liners coming out the wazoo, but as soon as they start to lose a couple of their skill position players, everything kind of starts falling apart a little bit. So that's kind of my kind of big takeaway on the night and the difference maker that I saw there. So yeah, if we'd had the opportunity to have a plan B at the deadline, right, be able to bring in a little bit more, you can start to fill out the lineup in a bit of a different way. And we don't have that option right now. It's the Jets have to be at their peak. They've got to be at everybody healthy and ready to go for this to look as good as it did that got them a President's Trophy. So that's where I ended up tonight for my From Financial.
I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna keep it simple because there is a lot of blame to go around on this one. There's not much good. One way I think you could sum up this series so far is in Winnipeg. Winnipeg's best players, specifically Mark Scheifele especially, was their best player on the ice. And in St. Louis's best guys all stood out in a big way, starting with Pavel Buchnevich. I thought Robert Thomas was pretty damn noticeable in this one. And Jordan Kyrou wakes up from a slumber of that big Logan Stanley hit and lights the lamp late in this one. So I think you just saw in Winnipeg, the Stars were able to do their thing. Dylan Samberg stood out in Winnipeg as well. And then on a night like tonight, the Winnipeg Jets, as T. Konopoli says, the From Financial Face-Off, the Jets no-showed. And the St. Louis Blues definitely did not. And that's what's beautiful about a 7-game series. Guess what? As Doug Henderson says, there's a lot of blame to pass around. And in this game, you flush it and move on. Yep. And that's what we're all going to be doing. And we're going to be moving into Sunday. It's going to be 0-0 at the beginning of that game with the Winnipeg Jets having a 2-1 series lead. This is what you worked all year to be the President's Trophy for.
Yep.
Home ice. To be in control of a series. Jets are a race to 2. St. Louis is a race to 3. I'll take those odds with this Winnipeg Jets team. I'll take those odds.
Like Harrison says, we're on to Cincinnati.
Yes, we are. Doug Henderson's From Financial Face-Off. Hellebuck for Hart ? And I got to say, those awards are done at Game 82.
That's right.
So we're leaving it
there.
So,
yes, that's correct. Hellebuck for Hart still counts.
The Winnipeg Jets need him to be at that level, though. Yep. It's time for Connor Hellebuck to silence that narrative if he wants to silence it. Jeff Cabeel's From Financial Face-Off was Blues went hit parade crazy. Jets didn't quite respond. And the Blues definitely carried the physical element. They carried every element of this game. I'm having a real hard time picking something that the Winnipeg Jets were simply better than the St. Louis Blues tonight. And maybe that's the story. Maybe that's the From Financial Face-Off, is the Blues in every aspect of this hockey game. Goaltending, defensively, creating offense, forecheck, any and all of it. The Blues were flat out a step ahead of Winnipeg in every aspect of the hockey game.
Yeah, St. Louis deserved this game. There's no question. The Jets were the better team in those first two, even if the scoreboard was a little more flattering to what St. Louis's position was. tonight was not that opportunity, right? The score reflected that St. Louis they dominated the game. You can talk about a few of the individual things that kind of led to it, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, St. Louis was they were the better team.
Justin L. over on Twitch, my From Financial Face-Off is the Blues came out firing and the Jets had no pushback. Did not want to match the Blues, want it level tonight. And after showing some great pushback in Game 1, that was definitely evident today that they didn't quite have it. They didn't get to that level. They didn't match the Blues' intensity. They didn't match the Blues anywhere. That's where it ends up summing up to me, is that the Winnipeg Jets simply were not able to match the Blues in any aspect. Will Hart compete anything like that? And then they just let it out of their system, taking dumb penalties down the stretch for the Blues to continue running up the scoreboard. So I think that's a fair takeaway from Justin L. on this night. Big Papa's From Financial is the Blues wanted it more. That's fine. We knew that they would be desperate. And that's the thing. Like, we should have had this expectation that the Blues were going to throw the kitchen sink. This wasn't over after Winnipeg. It's a race to 4 for a reason. And you're not in trouble till you lose at home. And the Blues came out and showed it. Is this coaching staff going to be desperate enough to make the hard decisions, sit certain players, and are those players going to respond starting with their superstar in net? And that's what we're going into Sunday to find out. We're going to learn a lot. We've continued to learn a lot positive about this team throughout the year. We're about to learn something more on Sunday, and I'm excited to see how it plays out because I do believe we see a response out of Winnipeg.
Yep. I think we're definitely going to see a big response. How the lineup is going to look and what adjustments, the coaching staff are going to make, I still don't know. I'm still a little afraid we're going to see a carbon copy if nobody's back in terms of availability, but we'll see. This is a real opportunity for Scott Arniel to come out and really silence a lot of the questions that we have.
Hulk's From Financial Faceoff is that the Jets are conclusive in their decision-making on literally everything. They decide on something, and it's the only thing that can or will happen. And that has been a frustrating point for me. And it's hard to disagree with that. Like that is a thing that's very consistent with this org top down. And everything has to fit into a certain nice box that they have it all set up for. And that does get them in some trouble, so I do like that from Hulk. HH Living Locals From Financial is the Jets have started very slowly in all 3 games, but this is the first time they dug themselves a hole they couldn't climb out of. They really need to clean the opening 20 minutes up, and I think that's big. And I know a few of us were in a thread on Twitter where people were calling the game over 8 minutes in, and I was kind of like, hey man, like this team's done this before. Let's settle down here. And Liz had kind of made a really good point about the key is not to dig it any further. And I actually felt pretty comfortable at 2-0 that the Jets were going to find their game and chip away at this thing. But once it became 3, this thing was pretty much toast. There was no confidence that they'd be able to score 4 in this night, but I thought they could find their way to 3. And those first periods definitely have to be cleaned up, and as well as the PK.
And there's been a few stretches during the year where they've had really slow, if not all, just outright bad starts to the games. Right? It's something they've had to deal with all season. You ready for a call?
Yeah, let's go to the phones.
Hey caller, you're on the landing strip. What's your name and what's your From Financial Faceoff?
I'm Blake K, and from Twitter, and follow you guys. First time caller.
Hey, Blake.
What's going on, Blake? You were at the game tonight.
Yeah. I don't even know really where to start of how bad everything was. I guess I'll start with just in the arena from the beginning, how hyped everything was, and you could just feel the vibe. And I mean, it was great. I mean, not even a Blues fan. It was just a great vibe. Everyone were very loud. I mean, holy shit. I was probably almost, I wouldn't say as loud as Winnipeg, but I would say pretty similar. But off the jump, it's Luke Shen, what you guys were saying in the sense, too, of just digging deep in that, I honestly felt pretty comfortable when they were down 2-0 as well. They could probably jump out of that hole. But once it hit 3 and their first period play, just the last 3 games, jumping really terrible off the start. And, today was just a really big dig in a hole. But, I'm just trying to think of something to say positive, but,
I couldn't imagine being in your shoes tonight. Like, it was one thing that I have to sit on my couch by myself and watch that one, to be surrounded by Blues fans. I couldn't imagine, and I gotta say, it definitely sounded loud through the TV. Banger anthem to get that thing going. I really enjoyed that anthem singer tonight. Yeah. And those Connor chants right before he got pulled were so loud on TV. I couldn't imagine what that was like in the building.
Yeah, and the first couple goals with Connor, there were screams, and Bucci's first goal was beautiful. Cannot lie about it. But
that was sick.
after that, the narrative is kind of struck on. I mean, some of them goals, they were, I wouldn't say clean shots, but definitely savable.
Yep.
Yeah, I was mind blown by the Luke Shen goal. I believe it was the fifth goal when he was in our back corner, and he sat on the puck for about 2 to 3 seconds and then got forechecked and just gave it away right, and they scored. And I looked at my dad, and I was just, he jumps up screaming because he's obviously a Blue fan, but I'm just so puzzled in the face. It was mind blowing. It was just seeing obviously 82 games with the Winnipeg Jets and how they played all season long, and even the first 2 games they had the better narrative over the Blues, and it's just I can't believe how bad they played tonight, truthfully. Even in being there and seeing it myself was just, of course, the game I go to, it's that game, but I still feel positive over the Jets. It's just, I don't really know. I'm kind of leaning on you two, funny enough, with, just how I feel. It's like, I really, I at least I'll say this, Brandon Tanev, even though the third line has no offense, Mason Appleton looked really slow out there tonight too. Just except from the forecheck, I guess Morgan Barron and Brandon Tanev had a good just drive in them, complete forecheck, and even on the bench, I don't know if they showed on TV the bench at all, but they just didn't really have their mojo. They didn't really show the emotion. The Blues were jumping up and down on the bench, line changing, screaming at each other. It just kind of like and Kyle Connor, just kind of non-existent today. Just no forecheck, no anything. It's I'll just leave it at Brandon Tanev and Morgan Barron with the forecheck. They had a great game in that.
Hey, Blake, I appreciate the call, and I'm glad you could lean on us to try and get through this night. I can't imagine what you just went through. And I see Ticona Pauly on YouTube says someone's got to give you your money back for having to experience that. That might have been the worst Jets game of the year. Thank you for calling in to share your experience. And I still feel the same way you do. I think Sunday's going to be okay. I think this team's going to be okay. But they need to take today, look it in the mirror, and come with a much better step forward. That Shen goal was perplexing. It still is. To have all that time as a veteran, crazy.
Yeah, no, but I appreciate you two as well. I love the work you guys are doing, and I'm following all along. And let's get a good one for Game 4.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate your support, Blake. Hopefully a better one coming so you could bug your dad on Sunday as a Blues fan. Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Right on. Take care, guys.
Take care. Joel Kevinson points out, flu in the room, boys. 2-day break might be good. And I got to say, all these 2-day breaks sure seem to be benefiting the Jets. As Game 5, there's going to be another 2-day break as well. I'm expecting Gabe Vilardi is going to be available in one of the next 2 games, which will be a huge boost for this team. And if you get a guy like DeMello back and he gets through that, there's going to be help coming. I'm not ready to write this team off just yet.
Yep. There's
going to be help coming. The schedule's set up pretty well for them, and they didn't go through 82 games looking like they did to just welter after one 7-2 loss in April. I just can't buy it. I can't buy it. I'm still here with this group.
Yeah, we've seen it all year that they've been able to bounce back. I'm not ready to give that up yet. So yeah, I'm real excited for the Sunday game. I think they're going to come out, like the chat saying that they want to see them coming out guns a-blazing, Jeff Cabeles, like St. Louis did tonight. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to see a real fired up group come out on that game. I think you're going to see big, boring Connor Hellebuck, who's going to just soak up every single shot. I'm excited for that one. I'm pumped.
I hope so, because even I'm starting to get concerned about the old Helly narrative, and I never thought I'd
Don't
say
you do it.
but
Don't you do it. Stay with me.
Nervous.
Stay with me.
Nervous. Getting nervous. Brad Yakubchuk says, I think Gabe probably could have gone tonight. Yellow jersey, smoke screen, so they can't plan for him. Almost a guarantee he is Sunday, and that would certainly be a boost.
Ooh, that would be good.
Drager seemed pretty confident too, and talk about a guy that does have the ins that Gabe is close. So, yeah, if we get a Gabe Velarde surprise on Sunday, if not, I imagine the hometown crowd will be seeing them Game 5, which will be a big boost at the old Canada Life Center as well.
And just so the callers know, when you guys call in, you may get placed on hold just for a few seconds while we finish up whatever thought is coming on, and then we'll pull you on. So when you call in, if you get placed on hold, just stay on the line. You'll be all right. We'll get to you. I promise.
Glizzy Water Soup, I love you. I love you. You went from the optimist that was keeping me optimistic at times I was down to feeling in the mud today, and that's what a night like today is all about. And I think you're completely right on your last comment saying, hope everyone realizes this Jets team is going to be much worse next year. No Ehlers, Stanley Shen every game. Hellebuck and Scheifele taking a step back due to Father Time. I think there's going to be a step back next year, and that's why I'm not ready to call in quits on this year's team. Yep. They've earned my trust that they're going to bounce back. I know that this might be their best chance at it after the Pion contract and some of the other contracts coming up. This is probably their best chance at a run over the next little bit. That's no secret to me, Glizzy. No secret to me. So let's see where this one goes.
Ready for the next call?
Ready for the next call?
Hey, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip. What's your name? What would you like to talk about?
It's Brandon again.
Hey, Brandon.
So, well, there's not really much to talk about this game, but I just want to say a few things because why not contribute to the show.
Thank you.
Talk about fun stuff, I guess, considering it wasn't very fun to watch. But first on the Perfetti quotations goal, Bennington's glove was behind the post. Like 1 + 1 equals a goal, but apparently not. And I think there was more penalty minutes this game than the whole last month of the regular season for the Jets. Like, for us and our opponents. It's kind of like, I'm not making excuses, that's why we lost, but there was a lot of penalties and whatever, and it probably would have been like 5-2 instead of.
Nope, I think we lost Brandon.
But some good points there. Obviously, I think everyone believes that Perfetti goal went in.
Yep.
And the penalties, and there's two frustrations with the penalties. For one, I do think the officiating's been pretty bad. But also the Jets are putting themselves in positions to take them. Like on that JAD penalty, Logan Stanley gets caught in the middle of the ice with the guy behind him. The bank pass makes it a 2-on-1. JAD is forced to make a play that looks like a hook. Luke Schen's penalties, he's getting beat and looking to make a play on the guy, and it's leading to trips. The Jets have to get more disciplined. They have to make adjustments with how this series is being called because, as we've talked about now through 3 games, the penalty kill has been the concern, and the Blues are exposing it. That is an area that, as a team, they really have to get sorted out.
Yep, they have to. Whether it's going to be a personnel change, a tweak to the system like they did on the penalty on the power play, pardon me, but they've got to find some type of adjustment on that penalty kill and get it in line.
Our boy Blake says 100% it went in. Officiating is terrible. Even most Blues fans next to me thought it was a goal.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one of those that everywhere is kind of saying that. I like Joel Kevinson when talking about Gabe says up 3-0, no Gabe, now 2-1, better chance. And I do think that does play into it. There was no point in rushing Gabe into this game if he wasn't fully ready. You do have the advantage.
Yep.
So I'm really curious. That's kind of the storyline here. Is I'm hoping DeMello is back after 2 days off. I imagine he will be. If it's just a sickness, and if they had Gabe Velarde, talk about a shift in the series.
Yep, absolutely.
It looks like Joel also points out, so I'm gonna have to watch that. Joel says Gadsdick did a great piece on our PK, so I'm gonna have to watch that after this.
Ooh, yeah.
For me, it seems like they got to get a bit more aggressive. It's been disjointed, and the Blues have moved the puck really well to find that open seam to get clear shots. We'll see where it goes. Now, missing DeMello, he's a big part of that. He's on the number 1 PK unit. Does matter, but that PK still has been a problem all 3 games.
Yep.
Where do we want to go from here? Do we want to get into the 3 stars? And
so.
I like this from Tico Napoli as we keep the vibes high on the way out. Good news is the last Jet stinker, they responded with a winning streak, so we will see.
Yep. Yeah, they've earned the benefit of the doubt this time around.
I think so. And I'm normally the pessimist. I'm still riding. I'm still riding, man. This is living. This is right? Sports fandom, baby.
You got to lose a few.
This is what it's all about.
Makes it more exciting.
Lose a few. It makes it worthwhile at the end. You got to feel the lows to appreciate the highs, and that's what we're all doing here. That's what we're all doing. The highs are still coming. I don't believe this is a first-round loss team. I'm not ready for that.
No.
Joel says the takeaway was a bit of lazy and a bit of Blues dominant, and I think those are fair.
Yep.
Turd said stands on our PK. I just gave you the secret to fixing it. Let's move into the 3 stars. Let's finish our adult bevies and head down to bed before Friday here. And we'll be back early Sunday as it's an afternoon, noon start where we're about to learn a lot about the Winnipeg Jets. Their core guys need to take today. Personally, we need to see some big performances Sunday. And I fully believe they're going to do it.
Let's hit it.
You want to start it off, big guy?
Right on. So in a game with very few bright spots, my number three star is going to be Dylan DeMello. For showing exactly how much they fucking miss him when he is not playing. Neil Pionk on your top pairing with Josh Morrissey. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ, what are we doing? So Dylan DeMello, you get the 3rd star for just being out, and everybody, we all have been in an office, right? Or wherever you work, whatever your place of business is. And there's an employee who does all the things, but you don't really appreciate it until they've gone on vacation or they're sick for a week. And you're like, fuck, they did a lot, hey? Yeah, that's Dylan. So he got number 3 for me. Number 2, he had a goal. I don't give a fuck what Toronto says. Cole Perfetti. That goal was great. He did all the things that he needed to do to score that goal. They just are blind and stupid. So I thought he had a decent game in that middle 6 that's been pretty starved of any type of offense like we talked about. So Perfetti, you can go in at number 2. And number 1, the guy that the coaching staff just hates, Colin Miller, had a great game coming in cold again. Anytime he does, he's really able to fill in admirably on any spot. They just don't want to give him consistent run for whatever reason, but I thought he was great tonight. So in a shithole of a game, Colin Miller, you get number 1.
I got to say, to give any Jet a star tonight is very generous on you. I can't say any are going to appear in mine on this night. But I'm going to shout out Turd Ferguson because he speaks my language. Paid the man 7 sheets. Would be nice to think he could step into a top pair for a game if needed, but not so much.
Not even.
And hey, I got to say, for all you in the chat and all you here, I appreciate you being here. I thought it was insane. After game 1, after one of the best games the Jets have played, the comeback, getting to do this show. When I made the Twitter announcement that the show was going to get started and how fired up I was, someone was upset saying, oh, now you're a fan, but you were ripping on the Peon contract, as if there's not any valid reasons to be ripping on that contract before it even fucking starts. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat things.
I'm sorry I have eyes.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can foresee the future better than you. But hey, anyways, off that rant. We don't need to talk about that right now. Just had to get it out of my system. I'm gonna give an honorary mention. Doesn't deserve a star, but honorary mention to Colin Miller, who I thought was the standout for the Jets in this one. Third star, I'm gonna go Robert Thomas. Breaks open a bit, made some nice plays to create some of those Buchnevich goals. Obviously, his line's been taken to task by the top line in Winnipeg. Not so much today. So Robert Thomas, third star, someone I think should be on Canada's Olympic team. Second star, I'm going to go Cam Fowler. I really think he's been the Blues' best defenseman in this series throughout. And him jumping in as soon as the Blues had possession to create that third goal puts this one out of reach. I think he's been really strong for the Blues, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking he was toast. And then first star, he's a Nik Lynam favorite. I've mock traded him to Winnipeg every year for 3 years now. Didn't enjoy watching him do it to my Winnipeg Jets, though.
No.
Pavel Buchnevich answered some of the critics on his early start to this series with a monster performance. That's a guy that could impact games in a big way, and he did just that today. So Pavel Buchnevich will be my first star. And I got to say, all of you that are still here at 1 a.m., calling in, chatting, being a part of this, you're all the real stars of this show. So thank you for being here. Make sure to tell a friend, be a friend, tell a friend. Let's keep running up these subs. 442, we've been cruising. We're going to get to 500 if this team goes on a run, and that's the goal here by the end of the season. Thank you for being here tonight. Let's hope we're talking about a better Winnipeg Jets game on Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock, Game 4. And buckle in. This is the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs. It's not going to be easy. This team's going to bounce back. We'll see you on Sunday.
You heard the man. Rate, review, and remember, it's the landing strip for your Winnipeg Jets postgame.